doing that, you will be entertained to over here, sorry, with an excellent presentation from Heidi Dohse of Google Cloud Platform.
Yes, thank you. All right, judges, you've got your work cut out for you. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is really special for me because I have a lot of the people that mean the most to me in this room. And hopefully my presentation will explain why that is. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about data empowering patients. And which way do we need to? There we go. Well, that's backwards. What am I supposed to be aiming at, you guys? Oh, the big, the big green button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about my 30-year journey as a professional heart patient. I was one of those kids that was fortunate to grow up playing sports. I played soccer, I was a swimmer, ran track in high school. I was a competitive skier and was racing on the World Cup circuit in windsurfing. And I was, 19 years old, I was having a blast. And the one thing though is I could never figure out how to take my pulse. All those years when you're in PE and the PE teacher says, hey, okay, for the next 20 seconds, we want you to count those things. I couldn't figure out how people counted those things. Because it turns out 270 beats per minute is not really easy to count, especially when it's irregular. When I was 19 years old, I had my first EKG. I was actually in the hospital because I was going to have knee surgery, to have a surgery to kind of clean up the mess I had made out of my knees from all of the other sports I was playing. And as part of the surgery prep, had an EKG and out spits the strip. And the nurse's eyes get really big. Next thing you know, she's calling the doctor in, and all of a sudden my knee surgery is canceled, and I'm off to the CCU. Because it turns out that I had a really rare arrhythmia and ended up having an AV ablation. I was one of the first humans to have an AV ablation back in 1983. And that's back when they used basically DC current. It kind of went in and they took out the whole mess, and that left me 100% pacemaker dependent. So here I am, I'm 19 years old, I've just had my AV node ablated, and I was kind of trying to figure out if I'd ever wear a swimsuit again, because here it is, I'm going to be 100% pacemaker dependent, I'm going to have this pack of cigarettes in my chest, and I'd never seen one in another person. So this whole process of being diagnosed, I wasn't even aware I was a heart patient, so it was pretty traumatic to find out that I wasn't a healthy athlete anymore, that instead I was dependent on a device and this, needing to go in for this treatment. And then how do you get your life back? Who was I gonna be now? And so this is the part that our healthcare system right now doesn't do a very good job of, and that is, once you get past the diagnosis, the treatment, and the measurable outcome, how do you take that to the patient's perspective of, I want my life back, and I want a life that is meaningful for me? And how do we teach people to have the desire to get that life back, because it's hard? And for me, it meant setting goals, and I needed some tools, because the goals I wanted to set, which I had a bike race, I was all excited to go race. And that picture of me in treatment was first day of training. But I needed the tools to be able to collect the data, and then I needed a support community. I needed other people that were like me, that had already been there before me. So part of the tools that I had and I needed to go from a patient in a hospital bed to a cyclist going across the finish line, I have my Boston Scientific pacemaker. I'm on my 7th device, so I've been at this for a long time. And every year, or every device I get, I have better heartbeats, smoother heartbeats, more technology, it does cool stuff. And now I have the Latitude communicator, which passively collects that information, all those signals that are embedded in this device implanted in my chest, that it collects that information, it makes that information available to my physicians. I don't have to worry anymore so much about, oh my gosh, is everything working as intended? This idea that the fear builds up because you don't know what's going inside. And that's where having something as simple as a heart rate monitor on my wrist helps me to know, am I still safe? What is my heart doing? And then, of course, as an athlete, my Wahoo Kicker X has all kinds of power sensors, cadence, and all this other kind of stuff. And that's where I've now gone beyond the patient interesting data, but now I'm looking at the data that's interesting as an athlete. So what do these devices offer? For me, the most important part is this window inside of what's happening. In the early days, when I didn't know what was going on and we didn't have all these great wearable technologies, I had to depend on using my polar heart rate monitor for cycling to wear it around the house whenever I felt funny to see if anything was wrong. It gives me that opportunity to say, okay, everything's working as intended. And I also now can collect data and have actual information that I can have a better discussion with my care team. I'm not going in saying, gosh, I sort of feel like X, and the doctor's like, well, I don't know how to treat your feelings. Can you give me more info? So we've now streamlined the ability to treat whatever's going on because we're actually talking about real live data points. And then there's this idea that the lifestyle part, that other part that's important to the patient, it's about the care, the community, the peer-to-peer sharing of, hey, this is what worked for me. What turns out is many of our physicians haven't actually had the procedures you're going under and having. The best people to kind of tell you about, what to do next are oftentimes the people in your community. And the biggest thing is this overcoming fear. Because when you've been diagnosed and you've had a treatment, you become hypersensitive to every heartbeat that's going on in your chest. So if you can instead stop the counting every heartbeat and instead know that you're safe because you have the data, and when I'm safe, I'm more confident. When I'm more confident, I'll do more. And you keep repeating that, you start to believe that. You don't have the negative just curl up in a fetal position. Instead, you're back on that road, you're getting your life back, you're being active, and you're doing good things. So, like I said, I've done a lot of product testing. The other thing about being a 30-year heart patient and lots of devices is I've had a couple of the unintended consequences, like scar tissue that builds up and a little bit of heart failure due to an infection. So in 2010, I had to have open heart surgery and lung surgery, and that was the year I decided to get really serious about competing. I've since, over the years, I've been racing. This picture here of the map, that was that race I set as my goal. It's a 200-mile single-day bike race that goes from Logan, Utah to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I did complete it. I've done it solo multiple times. The picture of me on a mountain bike was my first 24-hour solo race that I did last year. And I've made the podium at nationals, and so if you want it bad enough, we now have the technology to empower the patient to go after their dreams. And in addition, this journey that I've been on, I've had an opportunity to get involved with the Healthy Heart Study. This is a project going on at UCSF in California, and it's about putting the patient first. So how do we start to use patient-generated data to change how we diagnose heart disease, how we treat heart disease, and we're also giving patients accountability for their care. So when you're accountable, you get a voice at the table. You get to be treated like a peer because you're now a part of the process for providing care. And this is where we're also looking at big buckets of data that can be shared, and it's now a resource for researchers to come to the Healthy Heart Alliance, say they're looking for a certain cohort. They can then pull them from the study participants, which we're now up to about 30,000 people and looking to go towards 1 million over the next 10 years. But with patient consent, you can then choose to share your data and make it usable in other ways. And everybody always asks about HIPAA. When I give talks, people always want to know, well, what about your privacy? And I think we've kind of swung a little too far because we've kind of frightened people with the HIPAA document. Every time you go to the doctor, it's like, well, sign this. Can't let anybody see your medical records. Bad things will happen. And then we go home and post it on Facebook, which kind of defeats the purpose, but I think that's how much of a disconnect between what HIPAA really means, why why it's important, and then what do you do with your data. So personally, for me, the length of my life and the quality of my life depends on what we learn about heart disease, how we learn to treat heart disease. And so if I can share that and be part of that solution, my ask is just that I get to have some say in the consent and who uses it and for what. Which brings me to, how do we make the big vision happen? How do we connect everyone? How do we start to make the future of digital health happen? This is where I get to bring in my day job. I'm on the Google Cloud Platform team, and my focus is in healthcare. So if you look at what Google's mission is, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, and you pair that with excelling at managing and extracting value from data, imagine if we applied that to all the data in healthcare and we made it accessible and useful, because I think those are some of our big problems right now. So Google Cloud Platform is the enabling technology that will allow us to get to that place that we're trying to go. This is just a quick overview of the different tools that we have available on Google Cloud Platform. So there's management tools, there's big data, there's storage, compute, and networking, and all kinds of cool stuff. And we're also interoperable. So this idea that you can bring all your data, you can store it, you can process it, you can use analytics to explore it, and then spit it back out in an interoperable way is one of the powerful tools that's going to help us all work together. We use open standards, because we want everyone to come play with us. And we also have security. So we have we have HIPAA, we have the standards and the securities. So when it gets to the point of, is data on Google Cloud Platform safe? Yes, it is. So imagine a world where we can have all of our data. You can, medical records, genomic data, device data, a lot of the things that you guys are talking about here, imaging data, patient EHR information. It can be in a database, and then it can be analyzed, and then the information presented to the appropriate stakeholders with what's of use for them. So making the data useful. So that's the vision. That's where we're headed. That's where we're looking to partner with all of you to see how we can, make this happen. Some examples of things that we're doing currently: the Google Genomics. We have a great genomics platform. It runs on our traditional cloud. So we've got the virtual machines and storage, the data services, and then the genomics API. We're doing some really great things with Autism Speaks. The cancer, these folks are the Institute for Systems Biology doing their cancer genomics on Google Cloud Platform. And then if we look at where the opportunity is, where we're going next, this is where I'm really excited. The Internet of Medical Things, it's growing. We are going to see many, many connected Internet of Medical Things. And if we can connect those via the cloud and make that data easy to read and easy to share. And these are some of the tools that we offer on Google Cloud Platform that would help to make that happen. And then, of course, the patient-generated data, the wearable devices forecasts, again, growing markets. And these are the patients that are coming to the physicians, and they're coming with all this data. And right now, that data is kind of overwhelming to the healthcare ecosystem. They're like, what are we supposed to do with all this stuff? We need to be able to take it, and we need to be able to store it, analyze it, and then look for the anomalies, and make the anomalies or the variations make that available to the care team so they can have discussions, again, on things that really matter and not get buried in just the sheer amount of data. And I think one of the other things that's happening through PCORI, which is the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, and PPRNs, which are patient-powered research networks, is this whole idea of patient-generated data being made available for research, and also this idea that you're making patients more accountable for their care because they've got more information. These are some of the tools on cloud that will start to bring together the ability to do the patient-generated data and the wearable technologies. And this is kind of what that architecture looks like. Your devices connected to your gateways, and that might be your cell phone or whatever the connector is that gets you to the cloud. And then you can have that, you can ingest that data through multiple services that we have, and storage, or send it to analytics, or back to storage, or right out to the applications for the presentation, again, back to the specific stakeholders and showing them what's important to them. So, in conclusion, we're moving to a world where we have lots of data. The data needs to be interoperable, and we all need to be able to do something with it. And it's more than just, the electronic health records. It's going to be things like genomics. It's going to be all kinds of data that needs to come together, be shared and analyzed, and then how do we find those nuggets of really useful, actionable items? And personally, for me, I'm really excited about where we are now. I've spent 30 years traveling this journey, trying to figure out, how I can be more responsible, how I can have more knowledge, and how I can add value to my care team, and also understand what's going on with my personal health issues. The work that all of you are doing, it's going to make a lot of people's lives really amazing. You will have a huge impact, and it will be sometimes just at the individual level. You won't always get to hear about it. I'm sure the folks at Boston Scientific don't always get to hear about the difference that what they do each day makes to someone like me, because every heartbeat is based on all the hard work that they do. And much like what you guys are doing, people will come to depend on your products and your services, and you'll make an amazing difference in their lives. So that picture right there was actually at the end of a 200-mile single-day gravel race in Kansas. And I used every single heartbeat in that pacemaker. But anyways, really awesome to see all of you here, and I look forward to what happens next. So thank you.